Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community. We were to go racing with open B class. So a good mixture of cars as we see in this opening shot, from a Ford Ranger to a Lotus Exige. You can imagine the Exige quite keen to get past the Ford when it got to the twisty parts, and sure enough, as we head up towards the next corner, the Lotus is to the inside. The Gullwing Mercedes is keen to join in that little bit of overtaking and would get the pass completed as they all race up towards the next corner. Mercedes gets a very good run, having a look down towards the next turn, but it is a long way around, and you've got to try to go around the outside of, well, a Lotus. Also gets a little bit boxed in by a Clio. It's always crowded at the starts of these races. It's always very crowded indeed, and Mercedes still stuck in that outside position. Now, I had brought back the bonkers Subaru 360 that I'd used in the B-Class flat engine versus community. I fancy driving this stupid car again. Mine is out and out power. There's over 320 horsepower in a car that weighs 1,400 pounds, which, as you can imagine, when it gets to the straights is very, very pronounced. It looks like it's in a different class when it comes to the straights, and then you get to the corners where it's quite frankly terrifying. I love it though. I love my little Subaru. It's an utter monster of a car, and yeah, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to have another go with it. However, Forza, being Forza, was starting me at the back of the field, so there was a lot of work for the little Subaru, a lot of overtaking for the Subaru to be doing. The big old Ford Ranger, well, that was not having a huge amount of fun around Laguna, gradually dropping its way down the order, losing a position first to a Megane, then comes a Nissan. A Renault Alpine is having a go up the inside. In fact, the Alpine gets the pass completed. The Alpine almost managing to get to the inside of the Nissan, couldn't quite do it as the Ranger continues to drop as a Ferrari draws alongside and gets past as they go up towards the top of the hill. The Megane is now in a little bit of trouble. The Nissan actually very, very quick around here, manages to get the pass done before they get to the corkscrew. The Megane, though, fights back under brakes. The Renault trying to go around the outside at the top of the hill. Unfortunately, a Omni got, I think, a bit lag killed and would be out just cruising down the corkscrew. The Megane put up a damn good fight, trying to go around the outside, just didn't quite have the grip. At the front of the field, things were a little bit more spread out, and it was a very unusual top three that we had going on. A Jeep Wrangler was leading the way, a Lotus Exige in second, and a Gasser was in third. The Gasser Bel Air is actually a surprisingly good car in B class. It is not very fast through the corners, and throughout the course of the lap, the Exige would monster it when it got to the corners. The Bel Air would fly back up towards the back of the Lotus as soon as they got to anything vaguely resembling a straight, but no one was ever at a place close enough to really do much about, well, overtaking one another. My little Subaru continued its march on the way up through the field. The Mazda had a bit of an off down the first corners and was trying to recover. You can see how much speed the Mazda can take through the corners, and then we can watch the little Subaru 360 find that acceleration. It just goes. I mean, these cars here were faster than some of the other cars that I had been up against. It just flies. The Mazda tried to follow in the braking zone in towards that second corner. Couldn't quite pull it up in time. It's a nice cutback. The S2000 saw it coming, left its space, got the cutback. I, being a little bit slow through the corners, kind of bottled up everybody behind me when we got to the turns and then run away again, which I think scared the Honda ever so slightly as the Mazda and Honda continue to go side by side through these next few corners. The MX-5 having to try now, looking for that outside line, can't quite do it. It's now going to go for that cutback, get the better run up towards the top of the hill, but it's not an easy place to get a pass done at the top of the hill. The MX-5 has a go, but just can't quite pull it up again. They're both just constantly cutting back on one another. It's a nice move from the Honda there to regain the position. A very easy mistake to make that at the top of the hill, especially when you are on that much tighter line. This would become the battle for fifth place. The Fiat struggling a little bit for pace around this circuit. The Alpine with a good run, although again the Alpine's going to find himself stuck on that outside line down towards the next corner. If he gets held up for too long, a mad little Subaru was coming to join in the fun. Again, it's an almost carbon copy of the MX-5 versus Honda battle we had a second ago. This time though, the Alpine gets to the inside, doesn't overdo it on the brakes. It's a nice pass, and for some reason we see a lot of overtakes. That's one of the tougher places to overtake at Laguna. We were seeing quite a lot of action going on at that corner. My little Subaru was flying up towards the corkscrew as well. At the front, as I said, things were pretty straightforward. Things were pretty lonely for I say pretty straightforward, that's perhaps the wrong word, but fairly calm for the top three. It would be a Jeep Wrangler that will go on to take victory on one of the most unusual podiums, and even for FailRace, it's quite a strange one, with the Jeep Wrangler taking victory, the Lotus Exige in second, and the Gasser in third. I apologise, I have no podium screen for this one with the replay crashing. It was Please Don't Eat Me who got the victory, and Pega in second, and Timid Ninetails in third. Actual lap times between those three vehicles were fairly similar. If they'd been closer to one another on the road, I think there could have been a very interesting battle between all three of them, but after kind of the calm down after the first couple of laps, everyone was just a little bit too spread out to have anything really happen there. Race number 2, and we would head to the Hockenheim short circuit, and there would be many of the Subaru 360s joining this one. There was a whole brigade of the little mad, stupidly fast cars, and there were again some other rather oddballs. Well, what's left of the Fast and Furious Chevy, and started towards the front, of course. Well, I say quite a large car compared to the vehicles it was starting around. When you're surrounded by classic race cars and little Subaru 360s, the Chevy does look like a rather large beast as it tries to make its way around the outside. It's trying to now fend off from a Corvette, a little Porsche 550, coming to join in all of this one, as Subaru 360s at this stage of the race would hold first, second and third. The Porsche would continue to try and make his way up through the field. The 550s are very, very quick cars. Again, much like with the 360s, they are very small, very light, and can get monstrous levels of acceleration out of the vehicles. Now, the blue 360 is an all-out handling 360 in many ways. Still fairly fast, accelerating. Nothing, though, compared to the likes of mine and compared to some of the other 360s that you can build. But it is then very, very quick when we get to the corners. It's trying to go around the outside of everybody. In the end, though, the handling gets the better of that. I don't know if it clipped the wall or just had a wiggle on the suspension, ended up in the wall. The Porsche would have to go back to try and find a way past the Corvette while everybody was busy battling further back. Hockenheim Shore is a layout that I thoroughly enjoy racing around. It almost always generates some fantastic racing because it's a track where you can have, well, just about overtakes going on any corners, and a lot of them are pretty good overtaking opportunities. This was a little bit further down the field as a BRZ is desperately trying to find a way past a Starion around the outside of the final couple of corners. Not quite going to get that one worked to head now down towards what is actually one of the tougher overtaking spots on the circuit, this first corner. Not much of a braking zone through here, and indeed the Subaru thinks better of that one, but they've fought each other so much that an MX-5 is now coming to join in the fun. The Mazda thinks about trying to go around the outside into the second corner. No real space to do it when you've got so much, when you've got two cars battling ahead of you. There's just no road for you to go, and still that BRZ cannot get the move done. Now, if you can hold it around the outside here, you will be on the preferred line for the next part of the corner, and indeed that is what the Subaru does. It's a good move, although leaves the door a little bit open. The Starion goes for it and pushes the door a little bit ajar. In the end, the Starion can't do it. The BRZ would get the position and then runs wide on the next corner. It was a great overtake. It was a well fought for position and just running wide. It's a really easy place to run wide there. Would scupper all of the Subaru's hard work. I found myself fighting the handling 360. This circuit is kind of fun in my car. Slightly terrifying though. There are bits of this track where my Subaru is just unbelievably fast. It's faster than just about anything, but when we get to the corners it is not very easy to get it around here. 2-360. I mean, it's a strange battle. It really is a very strange battle that we had going on here, but it was quite good fun. I mean, you can see the gap that I can pull on pretty much everything. There are a couple of cars that could just about, vaguely keep up with me, but it was so fast down these straights, but around the corners I had some serious issues. At the front, it was continuing to be a 1-2 for the 360s. The white Subaru having led for the first few laps, but running wide at the hairpin is not what you want to do when you're under increased pressure. There's always going to be, especially when you're in a little car like this, someone's always going to put the car up the inside. At the end, the white car running out of grip on that outside line. Yeah, the 360s, well, better built 360s than mine were very, very fast around this circuit. Mine a little bit too much on the bonkers power direction to quite work at a shorter track like this one. The Chevy, well, that was still running relatively well, despite looking... It looks quite cumbersome around here compared to a lot of the cars that it is racing. They're not terrible vehicles. They're not the easiest things to get working, though. The Ferrari, the classic Ferrari race car, was trying desperately to fight in this group, but was having issues of being out-accelerated by everything. You fight for the way through the corners, get stuck behind cars slower than you through the corners, and then everything would pull away from you on the straights. It's one of the difficulties. Actual lap time-wise, the Ferrari, can be competitive with these cars, maybe even faster than these cars. But you get to this stage where you're stuck following the cars through the turns and you can't quite get an overtake done, and then they fly away down the straights. Although often, these cars that are flying away down the straights are not the nicest things to drive when it comes to the turns. While the top three were again relatively gone, the two 360s and the Porsche 550. Fourth place was very much up for grabs. The Mustang was holding on to that position, trying to fend off a Lancia Fulvia, and my little Subaru was gradually catching. Not quite quick enough to really do anything about it. It's a good move, though, for the Fulvia. Gets the better run through that first corner, gets himself to the inside for turn 2, and there's very little that the Mustang can do. Now, the Ford has got some good straight-line speed. Again, the Mustang having a look at trying to stick it around the outside is not quite far enough, as the Fulvia claims that position and can cover through these next couple of turns. As I said, at the front, it was going to be a 1-2 for the Subaru 360s. They were monstrously quick around this circuit. There was not too much that any other cars had in terms of an answer for these, or for the better handling ones. Mine a little bit of the mad variety. But yeah, 1-2 for the 360s with a 550 Spider in third place. Again, much like at Laguna, pretty spread out for the top three. While the Fulvia would claim fourth, the Mustang in fifth. I'd run out of any chance to try and catch that. A sort of sillyish mistake had dropped me a little bit further back, and that put me in trouble from the blue at 360. I knew I was ahead of it after the first couple of straights, but I knew I was going to be in trouble coming around these final corners. You can see just the grip the blue car has got over me. I've got the acceleration as we fly up towards these final turns. Just a bit of leaning between the two. It looks mad, and the speeds that these things are capable of, even in B classes, it looks mad. I tried everything I could to fend off that blue car. It just wasn't enough. I couldn't be close enough to out-accelerate him towards the line. Either way, it was a great fun race. It was a highly enjoyable race. There'll be another 360 behind us recovering from all of that. Muri would take victory in this one. Hordes in second, with to the Bratmobile in third. Our final race, and we would head to the Sebring Club Circuit. For once, Forza would be kind to me. I know, it is a strange thing, but Forza would actually give me a half-decent spot on the grid. There were some cars not appearing on the replay in this one. You can kind of see the effects a little bit on the way through turn 1, unfortunately. For me, stayed out of trouble. Soared my way up into a third place, looking to get up to second. However, came up against a very big Ford. I wanted to try and get the move done on the first lap, but couldn't quite squeeze my car up the inside. And then, a little bit of bother. Can't really do too much through here. The Falcon much better through the turns, much more composed than my Subaru. Well, braking on the Subaru is good because it is so light. It's surprisingly good on the brakes. You can catch people out with how well it does stop despite being stupido fast. It's just that corner grip that I was lacking. Further back, there was plenty going on, as you can imagine, in these opening laps. A Porsche tried to get to the inside of a Clio. In trying that, couldn't quite get the move completed. And when you go for one of these overtakes that don't quite come off, you often end up losing. You know, you lose momentum, you lose that bit of time, and in going for that pass, the Porsche that was fairly clear of the BMW has ended up falling back behind the M3, as the Gasser would have a little bit of an explore in the background, completely on his own somehow. But there we go. The BMW doing, well, a very similar manoeuvre, trying to get past the Clio. Can't pull it up in time for turn one. It's a great cutback by that Williams Clio to regain the position. Now the BMWs come under threat. This time the Porsche trying to outrun it down towards the next corner. The M3 just about fast enough as they head up towards the next big braking zone that the Porsche can't really do too much. The BMW defending, but it's a long way around the outside. Can do it, you know, you certainly can do it around that corner, but BMW defends well in all of that. For the first few laps, I would end up being a little bit frustrated. I was struggling to find a way past the Falcon. I had a huge amount of speed when we got to the straights in the Subaru, but I couldn't carry enough through the corners to be quite close enough when we got to a braking zone. And when we did, the Ford was still pretty damn good under brakes. This particular lap, though, was the closest I had been yet. I knew I was unlikely to get it to work down into turn one. The Ford would cover the inside line, and I don't have the grip to make it stick around the outside. I tried to cut back. The Ford the Falcon was a very wide Falcon. However, even with as much covering as he could do through there, I was close enough. Used the mighty acceleration of the Subaru, and it would go soaring past. I would be clear by the time we get towards the next braking zone. Even if I did push my luck a little bit down there, you can see the Subaru wiggling around in all of that. There was all sorts of racing going on through this, and while it was fairly spread out in places, you'd have, again, much like we have seen in previous ones, you'd have these little pockets of battles that were going on. This Fairlady's Ed to the inside of a Honda Civic down in towards turn number one. The layout, I quite like the Sebring Club layout. Again, it's another track that generally promotes overtaking. You've got decent sized straights followed by decent sized braking zones, which means, well, they're going to be your best spots. The big braking zones. The Fairlady's Ed has a big dive under brakes, just about gets the car stopped there to get two cars in almost as many corners. The Lotus does fight back. Lotus goes for that cut back, trying to get a better run. Doesn't quite have the speed though to fight it up towards these next corners. The Fair Lady would get the passes completed on that. Again, this was outside the top 10 that we had this particular fight going on, but M3, Subaru Impreza, there's a Clio Williams doing a bit of rallycross in the background. Again, another corner, it's easy to push you like that little bit too hard and go for a tad bit of an explore. The M3 would hold on to the position for now. Amaya's Manx coming to join in the fun here. The Ferrari has a big dive up the inside. I don't know if the Ferrari got stopped. It did get stopped just about. The Manx goes for a cutback. The Subaru's got the move done on the BMW as the chaos, I mean fairly organised chaos. The BMW has the better run though, and all of the Subaru's good work down into that first corner would be undone by a better exit, better acceleration from that BMW. Continuing the theme of weird cars and weird cars doing well, and there's a rally fighter in this one, and it was not a slow rally fighter either, despite it being a big cumbersome beast. This one would, well, outdrag a Lancia Fulvia, not so surprising, let's face it, but it was actually carrying decent enough quarter speed. It took it a couple of laps to get up to the back of the Fulvia, but yeah, it would get the move done on that Lancia and then proceed to pull away, despite, you know, there being plenty of corners around this circuit. It was a decently fast rally fight. I didn't think they ever really worked very well, but apparently they did. The Impreza will continue to be embroiled in battles. It might have involved slightly falling down the order, but there would be plenty of cars for it to race with as the Subaru came up against a Porsche, and the little lightweight Ferrari was still involved in all of this. The Porsche has a big dive up the inside towards these tighter sections. The Subaru going for the cutback, trying to get that acceleration up towards the final corner, but you're stuck on that outside line. It's a long corner to go around the outside. I think there might be a little bit of nudge from the Subaru on the Porsche. The Porsche a little bit wide, although has got the acceleration to out-drag this Impreza down towards the start-finish line. The Ferrari still looking, but its lack of straight-line speed was proving costly as we go under brakes. The Subaru, about as late as he can try and get away with that. Ferrari's having a look up the inside, but no real luck. Again, we see another car, though. Another car just pushes it that little bit too hard through the first corner. You end up out wide across the grass, and just loss of momentum is going to put you in trouble. At the front of the field, and we would have another 1-2 for the Subaru 360s. This time a different Victor. I couldn't really do too much. On a good lap, I could just about keep pace. I made a couple of silly mistakes, and of course got stuck in traffic a bit. First few trying to make my way up into second. Yeah, the 360s were quick. The 360s were very quick once more. Little did I know when I made one of these stupidly for Reverse's community previously just how fast they could be in B-Class. Hordes taking victory with the 360. I would claim second, while Miri would get third with the other Ford Falcon. Yeah, the 360s are mad cars. When I built my one here for the flat engine racing, I built it for a little bit of fun, putting a huge amount of power in a very, very light car. It's entertainment. Mine is not the best built one, I will be honest. Mine is not the best built one by a long, long margin. It's outright power is all it is in it. It's very difficult to drive. It's very uncooperative. It wiggles and moves around, but it's quite the entertainment. It's one of my favourite B-Class cars, and I had to go and drive it again when I realised it would be in this. It's yeah, a bit mad. However, if you actually build one of these sensibly, I had no idea just how massively quick they could be. So yeah, they were kind of the car of choice in a weird way. They're not the easiest things to get working, but if you do, because they're so light and they can get such good power out of them and still be fairly controllable, you put that together and they're a near unstoppable force. Well done to those who had cars that could compete with them, that weren't silly, small, lightweight things. Like the Jeep Wrangler was surprisingly good at Laguna. I didn't have an answer to that in terms of pace at Laguna, but yeah, turns out B-Class Subaru 360s just a teensy bit OP. But there we go. That is going to be it for this week's Versus Community. The next one is going to be on Thursday, the 24th of May. We are going to go racing with C-Class heavyweights. That is cars weighing over 4,000 pounds. If you would like to sign up and take part in that, then you can via our forums. There'll be a link in the description. Find the FailRace Versus the Community section, and you can sign up in there. That, though, is going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.